Hey friends, Andre here from the Widget Company. First of all, thanks for having me today, and I'm glad to have you guys in this as an audience, and hopefully you guys can learn a couple things from this presentation. So today I'm here to talk to you guys about stress and the effects it has on our body and how to effectively manage stress and what does stress even mean. So first I'm going to get into a couple technical textbook terminology so you guys can learn the scientific aspect of stress and again the functions of the body that attack stress, the hormones that help us deal with stress, and what to do and what not to do in stressful situations. So what is stress? Stress is defined as the physiological responses that occur when an organism fails to appropriately respond to emotional or physical threats. For example, we are presented with a huge test that we need to pass in order to pass a class, or a big interview that determines whether we get the job or not. Some people deal with these situations better than others. Some will fold under pressure and will cry themselves to sleep every night. Others will stay up late every night studying for that test until they get the grade they want and the outcome they want. Since we are constantly experiencing stressful situations and events and experiences, our body is constantly working as hard as it could to fight off the negative effects that stress has on our body. So our body fights off these negative effects in 3 steps. The first step being called alarm. Alarm is defined by the first reaction our body has to a stressful event. And during this first reaction, hormones are released. Many hormones to help. The main hormone being called cortisol. This is the main component in helping our body fight off these stressful events. The second level of our body entering the defense mode of stressful threats is called resistance. Our body enters this phase once the stressful threat becomes chronic or prolonged over an extended amount of time. During this period, our body starts working even harder to try to fight off these stressful threats. After a while, the body tries to return to its normal conditions because it's working so hard. Because of this, glucose increases and so does blood pressure. And we all know with increased blood pressure, this leads to illnesses and diseases that can eventually, unfortunately, lead to death. So the third and final level of our body's stress defense is called exhaustion. And it's exactly what it sounds like. At this point, our body has been in overdrive for so long fighting these stressful threats that it's depleted of its reserved energy, blood sugars decrease, and so does stress level tolerance. Mental and physical exhaustion can eventually lead to several organ failures, and that also leads to death, unfortunately. But these 3 levels, our body only goes through these 3 levels if we don't effectively adapt to the stress. So as I previously mentioned before, the cortisol released during the alarm stage of our body's stress defense helps the body cope with the stress. Chronic or prolonged stress causes the adrenal glands to produce excessive cortisol. This eventually can lead to fatigue and depression. The excessive production of cortisol puts a strain on the HPA axis, which eventually leads to our immune system weakening. A weak bodily immune system means we are more susceptible to diseases and illnesses. Increased levels of cortisol causes plaque to build up in our artery walls, which can lead to heart disease. There are many factors that can contribute to an increased stress level. Extreme or prolonged stress can cause health issues such as depression, heart attack, altered mental status, etc., etc. The list goes on and on. Stress can be caused by extreme negative events such as divorce, health, bankruptcy, employment termination. That list also goes on and on. In addition, stress levels can also be increased by minor events that end up adding up, such as finals week, interviews, presentations, presentations. Oh my God, I hate presentations. Just kidding. Although I did experience some level of stress preparing myself for this presentation for you guys. However, I channeled that stress into focus, which helped me get through the stress. Almost every situation in life can be considered stressful to some degree, no matter how big or how small. Some people may find one situation very stressful, others may not. For us, Thomas Holmes and Richard Rahe developed an interesting method for measuring a person's likely stress level. This method involves a table. This table contains Fortunately for us, Thomas Holmes and Richard Rahe developed an interesting method of measuring a person's likely stress level. This method involves a table that contains certain events. Each event is associated with a value that contributes to a person's stress level. Some events are valued high stress level contributor, some are not. Thomas Holmes and Richard Rahe developed an interesting method of measuring a person's likely stress level. They created a table with a list of events. Each event is associated with a certain score that contributes to a person's stress level. Some events in the table that are associated with high levels of stress contribution include death of a spouse, incarceration, employment termination, and divorce. Some events that are associated with low levels of stress can be minor law infractions, change in family get-togethers, daily hassles, and even Christmas season. Although these events have a lower stress level contribution, they are more likely to happen than those events that are associated with high levels of stress contribution, so they are not to be undermined. When stress does start to build up, it's better to open up and focus on the stressful event rather than just putting it off and trying to avoid it. This is true because problems just don't simply go away just because we're not thinking of it. In fact, it takes a lot of energy for us to try and not to think of a stressful situation. And eventually, when we do remember, our body's going to be completely depleted of our reserve energy that we need to focus and terminate the stressful threat. The power of happiness is key to controlling our stress level. Controlling emotions helps to decrease our stress. The positive thoughts that come from being happy give off a positive charge, positive energy, which attracts a positive events and outcomes. Positive thinkers tend to live longer and happier lives. Positive thinking comes in three forms: optimism, self-efficacy, and hardiness. Optimists expect positive results, while self-efficacy is the ability to produce favorable outcomes. Self-efficacy helps reduce stress because it leads people to believe that they have control over the stressors that contribute to their stress level, even if they never have to exercise the option to control the stressors. Hardiness is the ability to be less affected by life stressors. I fall under this category. I don't necessarily jump right into action and tackle the stressful event, but I do handle the situations well, and in respect that I don't let it overwhelm me or get the best of me. But when I do get to it, I am able to tackle it. I am confronted by stress in my everyday life with the daily hassles and especially at work. In my line of work here at the widget company, every aspect of the company can be stressful at times. The marketing, the sales, the workplace issues, the personality clashes, the personal problems between employees. But again, we all work together to terminate the stressful situation, and it's a win-win situation for everybody. I'm able to successfully get through stressful events or situations by utilizing my resources around me, my loved ones, my co-workers, even technology. However, there have been instances where the level of stress has gotten the best of me. For instance, in this astronomy class, in college, I knew the final was going to be nearly impossible for me to pass with the grade that I needed to pass the class. So night in and night out, I just kept putting it off. Like eventually I'll get to studying, but I never did get around to it. And the day came, and I knew I wasn't prepared for it, so I just skipped the class and got a failed grade. It is very important to be able to efficiently and effectively manage stress, so you aren't failing astronomy classes, and so you organs aren't failing and you don't get heart disease. So you you efficiently and effectively manage your stress to ensure a long life and a good health. And a lot of people ask, how do I manage the level of stress in my daily life and my work life? Just don't be afraid to reach out and use your resources. Again, your loved ones, your co-workers, technology. Google is a great resource, and just focus on resolving and not avoiding the problem. That helps me get through my stresses. I want to thank you guys for your time this evening, and I'm sorry again that I couldn't make it in person, and I'm glad the whole video chat thing worked for everybody. And if you guys have any questions, just feel free to shoot me an email. Um, Ask Mike for my email information, my contact information, and I'll be glad to reach out to you. Thanks, guys. Take care.